Hello, welcome back. Today is Mindful Monday, so welcome back for a little bit of practice. If you've been following or rewatching my previous lives over the course of the last few weeks, I've been going into a little bit of explanation about the four foundations of mindfulness, one of the core Buddhist teachings around mindfulness. And so far, in the previous 3 weeks, we have covered the mindfulness of body sensations as the first foundation. Second foundation is feeling tones, so that feeling of whether a sensation is pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. And then third foundation is mindfulness of emotions, and particularly noticing how emotions show up in our body as bodily sensations. So kind of taking those first two foundations and expanding them and combining them a bit. And now for the fourth foundation of mindfulness, we kind of go even a little bit deeper, and one of the most simplistic explanations of the fourth foundation of mindfulness, it can get pretty complicated, but the most simplistic explanation of it is thinking about thinking. So it's that metacognition, that capacity that we as humans have to be aware of our own thinking processes, being aware of our own thoughts, not just after the fact as a memory, but to be aware of remembering as remembering is happening in our mind, or planning, or analyzing, or any other type of thought that we may have. And so, just a little demonstration of this is to think about a tree for a moment. Just bring up the image of a tree in your mind. And now that you have that image of a tree in your mind, now be aware that you are thinking about a tree. That one step removed from thinking about a tree, that thinking about a tree, that is the metacognition, that is the awareness of thinking. And that is being mindful of your thoughts. And so we'll practice with that here in a moment, of just trying to be aware of thinking as it's happening. Most of the time, we're not actually aware of our thinking as it's happening. It's more of a reflexive thing that we are aware of after the fact. And what mindfulness, the power, the magic of mindfulness, is the ability to be aware of these processes, including the other three foundations that we've already talked about, as they're happening. Because if we're aware of them as they're happening, we're not caught up in reactivity to them. We can intervene on our experiences. We can intervene in the chain reaction of the stimulus and response patterns that we get into. It's only natural to have a stimulus response, a cause and effect process. That's the way all of life is. But if we can bring some mindfulness to that process, we have a bit more power, a bit more control over the resulting reaction. And rather than reacting to a particular thought that we have, or any other experience that we have, rather than reacting automatically and unknowingly, unmindfully, unconsciously, we can respond and be responsive and choose our response wisely. I'm going to screw it up, but Viktor Frankl, the Holocaust survivor who wrote Man's Search for Meaning, is famous for saying that between stimulus and response there is a gap, and in that gap is our freedom to choose, and in there lies our freedom. And so let's practice with becoming aware of our thoughts. So again, as I guide, I typically close my eyes, and so I invite you to do the same if that feels comfortable to you. Otherwise, you can just zone out on a neutral spot on the wall or on the floor. Just allow your eyes to grow heavy. And first of all, we'll become aware of our posture, as is common to do at the beginning of any mindfulness practice. Just be aware of how your body is positioned in space at the moment. Feel the sensations of sitting or resting, however you're resting. Bring some awareness to the sensations of breathing. And see if you can let the breath just be natural, not controlling the breath, just allowing it to flow in and out of your body at the rate that your body deems necessary at this point. Just noticing the quality of the breath, noticing those sensations, noticing whether those sensations feel pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. You might even notice if there are any emotions present for you right now, and thereby covering all three of the foundations that we've covered so far. And now shifting into the fourth foundation, thinking about thinking, or being aware of our thinking process. First of all, as a little bit of a mind game, a little experiment, just decide that for the next few moments, you are not going to think any thoughts at all. Just make that decision. I'm not going to think any thoughts for the next few moments. What you'll quickly realize is that even though you've made that decision, that conscious decision, there are still thoughts that are going to arise in your mind. So begin to notice that despite your conscious decision, the mind is still thinking. There may be random half-formed thoughts. Random images may appear, or something that you were already thinking about before you hopped on here, maybe something from the previous post that you saw on social media. Something is still kind of echoing in your mind. But notice how automatic all of that is, how unconscious all of that is. Just continue to watch, almost as if you're seated in a theater, watching your thoughts unfold like a movie on the screen. And it can be helpful, in order to not get lost in these thoughts, to give them labels, so you don't fall into the trap of pursuing the thought or feeding the thought. Just notice the category of the thought, such as remembering. Regardless of what the memory might be about, just give it a little label. Remembering. Or maybe the thought is about something that's going to happen later today or next week. So it could be predicting. Or it could just be imagining. It could also be worrying. But notice the future-oriented thinking, as distinguished from past-oriented thinking. Notice that when you're truly present in this moment, there's very little thinking, if any at all. There's not really anything to think about in the present moment. The only thing we really do in the present moment is experience. So just continue to notice the thoughts unfold, trying as best you can to remain in that observer role. As Ram Dass liked to call it, the witness, being the witness to your own thoughts. Recognizing the automatic, autopilot quality of the thinking. And just here in the last few moments of the practice, just experiment a little bit more. See if you can widen your perception of your awareness. What I mean by that is, imagine that your awareness, your consciousness, is a big, open, limitless sky, often referred to as big sky mind. That all of these thoughts inside your head are happening within this sky. But so are all the sensations that you're experiencing in your body, the automatic reactions, preferences, judgments of pleasant versus unpleasant. All the thoughts that the other person in the room or across the street is having are also happening inside of this big sky. Cars driving past outside your house are happening within this big sky of awareness. The sounds from down the street, the apartment next door, all happening within this big sky of awareness. Just growing that circumference of your awareness out and out further. Just see if you can develop a sense of spaciousness around your own thoughts and your own experience in this moment. To also include things that are happening outside of your own physical body. And whether or not that worked for you, whether you're able to kind of land into that big sky mind perspective, now we'll just close the practice by coming back to our breath, coming back to the body, sensations. Taking 3 deep breaths. In and out. Taking in another deep breath when you're ready. Releasing it back out into the world. Taking one more nourishing deep breath in. As you release it back out into the world, beginning to open your eyes. Come back to the space around you. And there we are. Regardless of how you felt like that went for you, I can almost guarantee that at some point you were aware of your thoughts. You were aware of your body. So it doesn't have to be perfect. It never will be perfect. It's a continual practice. It's a lifelong practice. So I encourage you to continue practicing in this way, incorporating all 4 foundations of mindfulness, practicing with each of them individually or combining them all into a single practice, revisiting these ideas, revisiting my profile, my page for additional support. If you need anything, reach out, comment below, shoot me a DM, and I'll do my best to be of help. I wish you well. Thank you for practicing with me today.